Hello and welcome back to Woodland Life, where it's been a while since I posted a video, and that's because I've been busy largely managing the land. So I think that gets missed a little bit on some sort of woodland YouTube channels, in that they do show kind of product reviews and camping and all the nice cutesy bits of woodland ownership, but they tend not to show the incredible amount of hard work that also goes into woodland management. Now, there is YouTube channels out there that do that, and they do it much more to an expert level than I ever could. So if I ever come across any of those, I will direct you in that direction. But as for this channel, what am I going to do? Well, like I said, I do appreciate there's been a bit of a gap in activity. So in this year, which is 2024, I'm looking to do some new things, not just scenes of the woodland, which may continue if you like them. They're all very relaxing and peaceful, but they're not very dynamic. So I guess what I want to know is, what would you like to see, or what would you like to see? Would you in fact like to see product reviews of items that are relevant to woodland life? If you would like to see that, let me know and I'll see what I can sort out. Now, in the meantime, I am going to show you around the woodland today, but I can't do that from the truck, and I certainly can't do it with a cup of tea in my hand. So let me put you on pause, and then in a moment you can watch this. Now, you may have seen me wandering around with this old belt there. I think that's a bit heavy for just carrying around. You must be just doing that for show. No, I assure you, this is the sort of stuff you're going to be carrying around if you work in the woodlands. In fact, often you're carrying a lot more, and it does get very tiring. So I thought what I'd do is talk through what I've got in there today, and it'll give you an idea of some of the kind of work that you're going to do if you own a woodland yourself. So first off, the most important equipment you can have when you're wandering around the woodland: a little bit of water. You are likely to be a reasonable distance away from your vehicle. You're going to be doing labouring type work. Even if you're just wandering up and down the woodland, that can be quite tiring because of the terrain. If you do not have some water on you, even just a little bit like this, then you're going to find yourself, essentially getting dehydrated. In very, very worst case scenario, you make yourself a bit ill in the sunshine and the heat and doing labouring and not having a drink. So very, very important to have some water on you at all times. Next, gloves. Not woolly gloves, although these are fur lined, so in winter they do keep my hands warm, which makes them more comfortable. But generally, just a pair of either leather or toughened gloves for wearing when you're handling anything in the woodland, really. If you're using a chainsaw, obviously these are no good. You want proper chainsaw gloves. But when you're doing basic sort of hand work, I would advise that you wear some gloves of some type, because you are going to get stung, you are going to get cut, you are going to bash your fingers about, and this just reduces the damage that you will do to your hands. Next up, a tree saw. Now, you couldn't actually cut any trees down with this. You could cut a limb off, I suppose, but it's not big enough to cut down a tree. And we'll talk about cutting trees down in a moment. But this is going to be very handy for cutting down vines off trees. Now, different woodlands have different issues. Round here, one of the issues is ivy. My view of ivy is that it is a disease and it needs to be eradicated. And if you want to keep your trees healthy and alive, you need to get rid of the vines that grow upon them. I'll perhaps later in this video I'll show you the case of a tree that has a quite a big sort of vine infestation. But I can tell you right now that vines over the last 5 years in this woodland have been a constant battle. So you need to be carrying one of these around with you so you can cut through them. And also what's helpful with a tree saw is a trusty forest axe. Now this is a Gransford Brooks forest axe. It's bigger than a hatchet, but it's smaller than a felling axe. You couldn't fell a tree with this. I suppose if you tried hard enough, you can fell a tree with pretty much anything, but this isn't designed for felling trees, put it that way. And again, we'll talk about the rights and wrongs and legalities of felling trees in a moment. But this is a very handy little axe that you can put in a belt or a rucksack, carry it round with you. Probably weighs, I don't know what that weighs, probably about 1 kilo or something. So it's, you know, it's nice and convenient to have around, and because it's a quality brand, it will do the job in cutting through those vines. Next we have a fencing tool and some fencing staples or wire staples. These are, you may think you don't need these, but I tell you what, if you've got any sort of fencing around your woodland, do not think that's going to stay in tip-top condition no matter how well it was made. It will not, because the woodland or any sort of forest land is a live and moving species, and what will happen is that trees will come down, they will fall on your fence, they will rip your fence apart, they will crush fence posts, you will have to replace things. This is, again, it's a bit of a constant thing, because if you've got any fencing around a woodland, you're essentially caging a wild animal, so you better make sure you have the equipment to deal with that. And quite often you'll be wandering around and you'll see a bit of fence that has been split by a fallen branch or something like that. It's just useful to have this and a few U-staples or wire staples that you can then hammer in and do a quick repair, so that you can go back at a later date and sort it out properly. Next, as we're wondering about, a good quality woodsman penknife. If you've got a legitimate reason for having a penknife in your pocket, my understanding is that is legal to do so, certainly on private land. So it's always useful to have this. This is a Swiss Army knife, the Swiss Army Forester, I think it's called. Comes with a sort of plastic traditional red sort of cover, or what do you call that, an outer, but you can also get it in this, because it's the Forester version. You can also get it with the wood on there. I've had this for quite a few years now, doesn't let me down. Probably could do with a bit of a clean, use it for all sorts of things, from food, whittling bits of wood, generally when you need to sort of poke something out of somewhere. Very useful to have a good quality penknife in your pockets in the woods. And last off today is a bow saw of some type. Now this one is a bit raggedy, because I tend to use a chainsaw. Call me lazy if you like, but it's quite hard work using a bow saw when you're cutting firewood. And obviously that wouldn't fit in the belt. I suppose you could hang it off something. But if you're doing a bit of sort of light chopping of timber, you just want to cut through a branch for a quick bit of firewood, it's just useful to have this to hand so that you can get on with the job. Now, I was chatting in one of the last clips there about felling of timber. And you may think that that's a normal part of owning a small woodland. I'm going to tell you now it's not. And you have to be very careful if you're going to start chopping trees down left, right and centre, because most woodlands will have some sort of tree protection preservation order on them, or you could be in a conservation zone, or there's all sorts of restrictions that could be going on that would make it criminally illegal for you to just chop trees down, even if it's on your private land. Now, with a small woodland, if you're using bits of timber for, I don't know, making bits and pieces, using them for steps, using them for firewood, which is traditionally what people would do, you don't really, well, you don't at all need to fell anything. In this small bit of woodland, which is just 2 acres, so it's not a huge woodland space, it's a very modest small woodland, I tend to get probably each and every winter 2 trees that will fall down on their own in the winter. This big old beast behind me, for instance, that came down not last winter 23, came down in winter 2022. I've still yet to get round to using it. As you can see, it's huge. There is enough wood there to fuel my firewood needs for ages. You know, that's more than a whole winter's worth of wood for me to use, even if I was just using it for firewood. So if you bear in mind that that's just one limb, I think in 2021 we had, I think 3 trees came down. One was an ash and 2 were pines. I think we're still working our way through those. That was in 2021. Then you had 2022, this one, and just behind you, I'll show you in a minute, there's a tree that's hanging, so it fell into another tree. I've got to contact Forestry Commission about that to see if they're all right with me chopping that down. But I'll show you that in a minute and explain what I mean. So yeah, essentially, you don't need to fell anything. You know, don't think you're going to turn into, you know, you own a woodland, you're going to turn into Mr. Lumberjack and you're going to be out with your 48-inch chainsaw flattening the land. It's just not going to happen, and if you do that, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. Anyway, let's take a look at that hanging tree I was talking about. So as you can see, this is what I was talking about in that last clip. This tree came down in, was this 2022? Yeah, I think this was a 2022 one. So that came down in the winter. It's just obviously rotted at the bottom, as you can see. Animals do a lot of that damage as well, so deer and squirrels sort of, I don't know, whatever it is they do, but I think the squirrels essentially, when the tree's young, they sort of eat into the bark, and then as the tree grows, it just grows with a weak point, and you end up with this. This is not uncommon, so this happens quite a lot. And I say in this little 2-acre land, I get probably 1, 2, on a bad winter, 3 of these happening every single year. So what do you do with this? Well, what I'm going to do with this is take photos of it. That's part of the reason why I'm here today, because there are 3 trees that I've got like this. I'm going to take pictures of them. I'm going to send them to the Forestry Commission. They have got an online felling license thing that you can apply for, but what I want is just a bit of advice about these ones, because I'm not sure I'll even need a felling license to get rid of these ones. But the point is, ask before you do anything, and then that'll save you getting in trouble. So what I'm going to do is send the photos off to the Forestry Commission of the 3 trees I've got like this. I'm going to say to him, look, here's the images of these trees, what do I need to do to make them safe, and then basically just take their advice. And as long as you do that, then you're never going to get yourself in trouble, and you're never going to have a huge great £10,000 fine landed on your doorstep. All right. So hope that was a little bit helpful if you're thinking about buying a woodland. Like anything, I suppose, enjoy it, don't take the and don't break any laws. Woodlands are beautiful places, and although you can buy them and enjoy them and do largely what you want in them, there is a bit of a remit that, you know, you're the guardian of that piece of land. So look after it and use suitable tools and be safe, because if you do something silly, one of these bad boys comes down on you, you're not gonna know about it. That'll be the end. Anyway, on that bombshell, I will leave you. And yeah, let me know what it is you would like to see on this channel in future. All right, cheers then. I forgot to tell you, vines. Look at this poor chap. That is strangling that tree. And what happens is, sorry, I get on camera. What happens is, that's just normal ivy that you get in your garden. It's a disease. Now, what happens is that goes up the tree, wraps around it, sort of strangles it. The tree wants to survive, so the tree gets taller and taller, thinner and thinner, essentially weaker and weaker, and it's trying to escape all that knotting, which goes all the way. And then you get at the top where the ivy's growing. You can't really see because of the sunshine, I think, but maybe you can see there. You get a big bunch of the leaves, so it's just trying to block out all the leaves of the tree as well. It's really damaging to them, and eventually it would just kill the tree. You know, this is why trees come down. I mean, especially this one, probably not going to survive, but if you can see in there how hollow it is anyway, and there's a lot of rot in there. I don't know, call me a bit of a tree hugger, but makes me feel a little bit sorry for him, you know. So I spend a lot of time cutting through these vines, and it is quite an easy solution. So basically you cut through the vines like that, and then I tend to pull the vine root out, and then what happens is the vines above then dry out, and it does take quite a while, but gradually they would dry out and shrink and become brittle, and the tree's obviously growing, especially if it gets its sort of health back then. And then eventually the tree will shed the rest of the vinage, and it will come flying off, which can be a bit disturbing when you're in the woods. But yeah, anyway, that's fine. So bear that in mind as well. All right, cheers then.